Welcome back. So this lesson I want to do it so that whenever you change something, notice it's grayed out if the data is still the same as it was when we loaded this page, but as soon as I make a change anywhere, you'll notice that this guy is actually valid, so we can save now, and as soon as it's saved, the data is the same again. So this means that now we don't only have validation, we actually also don't want to let you save unless you actually made changes to the actual data that you're viewing right now. Great, so let's try and work with this. So going into the code, what did I do? Well, the first thing I did was I made a new cloner for actually copying, making an exact copy in a new place in memory of the actual profile. So remember what I'm saying there, in a new place in the memory, because I don't want this profile right here that I'm making, the initial profile, to be the same spot in memory as this profile. Now that is important because this will be changed as soon as we change the input fields, but I want this to be the same no matter how many changes you make during the process until you press save. So this is like a clone, a copy of the actual profile that we get when we load this, when we run this on init. Okay, so it's a duplication, remember that. So whenever I change anything in here, I'm actually going to change the value inside this user profile. But I'm not going to change the value inside the initial profile now because it's a clone. Okay. So by doing that, I can actually go and say, as soon as I initialize this, I'll just make a clone just to get this available. So now there's a profile available inside the initial profile. And as soon as I get the real user from the database, I'll do the same. So now I have the actual user profile inside this initial profile. So the last thing I made is down here where it says profile is changed. So it's pretty much just saying if the display name is not the same anymore as it was when I initialized this, then return true, or return true if this, or return true. So if any of the fields are changed, return true, else give me false. That's kind of the goal of this one. Now the last thing we need to do is pretty much just use this function inside our component, and we're going to do that by saying you're going to disable this if the form is not valid or there's no changes available. That's pretty much how you do it. So going back to the program here, whenever I say now the form is actually valid but there are no changes, this is grayed out. Now there are changes and the form is valid, so now I can actually click it. I'll save, right? Now the form is not valid, I can click it. So now I have pretty much a good flow here for the user. He cannot click save unless he actually made some real changes to the system here. So that was kind of the goal of it. So that's it for this lesson. See you next lesson.